Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to this special live stream. We're going to be talking about building a brand. I have got Ken Reil here with me today. Let's see who we've got. Teddy was first. Good morning from Texas. Can't wait for today's live talk. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Teddy from Texas. Bo is here. Mitchell is here. Stephanie is here. Hello, everyone. Ray is here. Ask Ken if he's got any good merch gossip. I'm sure we will get on to that. Lance is here. Keeping it real. Yep, that's Ken. And Nomadic Blue from Goa, India. And Rick from Tallahassee. Sherry is here too. And Leaf in Oregon. Wonderful. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is going to be a great live stream, I'm sure. We always have a good time with Ken. It's been a while since we've had a chat, really. So I'll bring him on here in a second, but just to kind of give a bit of an intro, I met Ken face to face maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and we've been talking a while before that. Ken's one of the OGs in the Merch by Amazon space, and we kind of came on board and had that whole experience together of the Wild West of Merch by Amazon back in the early days. And Ken's got a lot to add about art licensing, building a brand. We'll get into all of that stuff. So if you're an artist, illustrator, designer, if you're looking particularly to kind of move, not necessarily away from print on demand, but certainly to add on skills like art licensing or additional income streams, then this stream is for you. We'll talk a lot about that stuff here today. So who else we got? Oh, we got people piling in here everywhere. Gary here from down the road in Liverpool. Larry's here. KK from Washington. Adelina is here as well. Kim, Keith, Susan from Pennsylvania. Wonderful. Great to have you guys here. So without further ado, I want to make sure we get the most out of our time here today. So I'm going to bring on Ken. So please give a warm welcome to Ken Reil. Here he is.
How's it going, everyone?
How you doing, man?
Can't complain. You need to get back to Vegas.
I'd like nothing more to be back in Vegas. Although actually it started to heat up a little bit here the past few days. I'm sure it's not quite as warm as whatever you've got it going on over there right now.
Should be 105 today, 103.
Yikes. Yeah, I'd never, when I came to see you in Vegas, that was the most intense heat I'd ever felt in my life. And we were staying at this hotel, and then the conference was like a block down.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it on Google Maps the night before, and I was like, oh, it's like, walking distance. So I'll just walk it in the morning. And it was like 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 or something. I was like, oh, I'll be fine. It won't be too hot. And as soon as I got outside, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can see why everyone is Ubering it, about 20 feet.
Yeah, I don't like it at all, coming from Canada originally.
Yeah.
Where you'd freeze your lungs in the winter. But we'll get you here again because we're still planning that merch conference.
Yeah,
we'll get together. So as soon as they let us in for the tours, it'll probably be here in Vegas. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it. So, Ken, for those who don't know you, and maybe for those who do as well, why don't you give us a bit of a introduction to yourself, and in particular, this journey you've been on? I know we both met around, the start of Merch by Amazon kind of times. Take us back even a little bit before that. What were you doing? What was your journey? Because I know you've got an interesting kind of pathway.
Well, it's an interesting journey for sure. I come from the oil and gas sector in Alberta, managed there, ended up in 2004 through a weird series of events, buying a sign company here in Vegas. And over the next 10, 12 years, learned design. I was kind of computer tech savvy already, but learned how to design, learned how to put things on the street, learned how to catch customer appeal. And about probably the same time you started POD, the 2013, 14, Teespring came along, started doing some designs at night as kind of a hobby, played around with it. And Merch by Amazon came along 2015. I was in the door right at the beginning. You've heard my story before. Some of the others haven't. I tried putting stuff up on merch and everything got, an error. And I fought with them on their email support. finally, I was about to give up, and I kind of told them off. Somebody told me, he says, "Hey, are you to the exact pixel?" And I was like, "Oh, I went and checked, and my designs were 1 pixel off." And I literally almost walked away from merch because of 1 pixel. Corel Draw, which I use quite a bit, if you don't save right on the artboard, adds a pixel for some reason. And the rest is history. December, I put something up in December. I noticed, I don't know, a $12 deposit to my account. Wondered what that was. Noticed that it was this merch by Amazon. So I put a few more up. Next thing you know, it's 40, 50, $100. The next month, it's, 150. By March of 2016, it was, $2,000 or $3,000. And of course, the early Wild West of merch by Amazon. I mean, you could throw anything up there and it was going to sell. And by the time I got to fall, Christmas, it was, hey, this is full time. Let's stop going on the streets of Vegas at 110 degrees and putting signs out. Let's sit in an air conditioned room and, do T-shirts, and the rest is history. I mean, I've gone on to sell well over $2 million in products just on merch by Amazon. And it's really, as I've said, flipped a switch in my life and changed a course. And that's where we are here now. Yeah.
I think what's really interesting there is, because we both started, obviously around the same time, late 2015 or whenever, when merch launched.
Yeah.
And we both came from, a design related background of some kind. So we weren't, entering this completely fresh-faced.
Yeah.
Like some people were. We had something to kind of bring to the party, if you like. Like I had already, probably a couple of hundred T-shirt designs that I stayed up, late a few nights getting them all on Amazon and trying to invest in it. And you had this experience with graphic design and with signage, which is maybe not as closely related, but it's still, like you say, you have to catch someone's attention. You have to understand something about color and layout and all these kind of aspects that come into it. And obviously that's, I think, part of the reason why you and me, kind of hit the ground running with merch by Amazon back then.
Yeah, and I've always said, and I'm sure some of the people who have heard me in the past, I've always kind of said the mock-up really doesn't matter on print on demand. It matters on that search space, that little 2-inch square, if you can get the guy's eye. And I mean, the sign industry taught me that whole 3-second rule on the street. Go drive down a street and see what signs that you notice. Like today, go down the street and which sign catches your attention and which one doesn't. And that'll teach you a lot, even when it comes down to the screen on Amazon or Etsy. Like what catches you on the screen in the first 2 or 3 seconds. And if you can't win that game, you're not going to win the game.
Yeah, so true. We've been doing, in my ideas workshop, we've been doing a class on trends and stuff, and we've got this case study of a design I did, and it's we were just looking recently at like the competition versus my design.
Yeah.
And it's so, my design breaks like all the rules, really. It's on a white shirt. It wasn't, didn't have like big text on it or anything like that. But it outsold all these others because it just kind of stands out, gets your attention, and the concept just nails it. So, yeah, it's so important that you have something that stops people in their tracks. Otherwise, you know how it is when you're scrolling. You're just completely blind, aren't you? You're just not.
Yeah.
You got to grab them by something. So.
Well, and I've shared the story that I had a good friend that I would throw my stuff up on Amazon. I'd say, go search this, and I wouldn't tell him what my designs were, and he would go search the pages. And if he couldn't spot which ones were mine, and he kind of became really good at it, he knew my style, but if it didn't hit him on the page in the first second or two, I knew I had to go back and change something on it. And we're just talking about thumbnails. We're not even talking about mock-ups. If you go to Etsy, I haven't done a lot on Etsy, but I've been pretty successful with what I have thrown up. And if you see
definitely.
You've seen my mock-ups.
Yeah.
It's just, if you go on the screen, it's going to hit you in the face because it's very simple, very colorful with the design, and bang. I mean, not a lot has to be done.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, so you started print on demand, merch by Amazon. You've been in that space for obviously a while. So your brand is Monsters and Martians. Tell us a bit, how did that get started? What's the journey been like there?
The journey there is growing up in the 70s and 80s and being a little weird, seeing some of that 50s and 60s, that weird horror type concept, the B movies and the classic cult movies and the weirdos and the rat finks and the gassers, the hot rods, just liking all of that stuff. Growing up as a metalhead, if you name a metal band in the 80s, I saw them.
Yeah.
I wish I had all the t-shirts still, because I'd probably retire a millionaire. But
Yeah.
besides that, Amazon merch by Amazon fueled the ability to switch to a full-time print on demand type focus. And where the account is now, like I've only got 8,000 or 9,000 listings on merch by Amazon. That's a full-time income. It's become very passive. And because of that, then I'm looking at it saying, do I want to do Father's Day shirts? Do I want to do pun shirts? Do I want to copy Mike Essek? Do I want to go lift his info? No, I searched for a couple of years trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I actually had the domain before I did the brand. And all of a sudden, a few things just started to come together. I wanted to do something that was fun, that was enjoyable to me, that I would wear the stuff, that I would like the stuff, that, that it wouldn't seem as work. And in many ways, merch by Amazon since 2016 has been like a really fun hobby. It hasn't been a chore to me. And that changes things. If you like what you're doing first and try and find what kind of a brand you want to do because you're enjoying it, not because you're slaving through trying to put up listings or create designs, changes the whole perspective. And then it just kind of clicked. Started working with an artist that I've worked with for quite a while that I was actually licensing. And he came to me and says, hey, let's change this arrangement a little bit. And the light bulbs went off. It was into this Monsters and Martians thing that, frankly, the pandemic helped because there wasn't a push to try and be out there. It was go lock yourself in a room, sit at your computer, be online. And over the course of a couple of years, built up a catalog of, over 700 unique designs, which of those, I've only really kind of exposed maybe 100 of them. Really? So there's quite a catalog sitting right now that we're getting ready to launch, that we're looking at different steps to do with.
Yeah. There's a lot you said there that I want to pull back on, but I'll just pull up. This is the Facebook page for Monsters and Martians. So when did you start the Facebook page and stuff? Because I can see this is, what is it, 80-something thousand followers and stuff on it now.
I started it. It's funny how I came upon it, because the Monsters and Martians, I was actually just on Google Auctions and, surfing for weird domain names, and Monsters and Martians was there. And I'm like, dude, that's kind of cool. So I think I picked it up for $20 on the auction.
Really?
And then sat on that. I probably had it, I think, for about a year. I might have actually signed up for the Facebook too, just to kind of grab it. And then things kind of started to click. I said, oh, wait a minute. This is all starting to come together. And it made for a perfect name. And the logo, I thought, turned out pretty good. That took me all of about 6 minutes. I just started playing with fonts. And I'm like, stretch. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, this is perfect B movie, classic horror. And it worked, and from there, it was like putting round pegs in round holes all of a sudden. And it just, it flowed. Dave Kadoff has helped me. Some people would know him and the Trademark Watchdogs group that I run. I'm not a big one on ads and things like that, but he's helped me with a few of the ads. And of the 80,000, we're probably sitting on 70,000 that are US hits.
Really?
So we've got a very good group, or a pool right now, that we can start selling into. And right now, we're just sitting on, I guess, the foundation, the marketing side of it. Yeah, it's made me money. It's starting to become my weekly best brand seller, even on merch for limited listings. We're just kind of a little bit of a powder keg and starting to branch out to where we can market this and how we can go forward. Yeah.
So I don't know where to start. I've got like three or four things rolling around in my head I want to talk about. So like one of the things that pops out, like you said, like you just said about like round pegs in round holes, like so much of this is, it just fits. Like you know exactly the market you're going after because you are the market, right?
Yeah.
This is like you said, you're creating stuff that you would want to wear in the first place. And like you say, when you know that, you know, the logo is easy, the vibe is easy, you know the colors to use, you know the fonts to use, everything just kind of clicks. And I think that's one mistake a lot of people make when they create what they might call a brand, is that when they say brand, they just mean, I don't know, a domain name or a Shopify store, and then they throw all their disparate generic designs up there and call it a brand. But that's not what Monsters and Martians is. Of course, that's, you know, that's completely different. That's just a collection of random designs.
Yeah.
A brand has to be, you know, on a theme, targeting a specific market. You know, everything needs to kind of click and make sense. You have to have that vibe. So yeah, that's a huge part of it, right?
Oh, it's, in my mind, it's everything. It's not only having fun with what you're doing, but it's understanding every piece of what the brand is about. And in some ways, that's what makes it hard to replicate as well. And that's something I've learned over the last, 10 years, even going back to the sign industry, is when you're developing a brand, how easy is it to be copied, right? And I'm not afraid. I mean, some people are very afraid in the print on demand to show any of their stuff. Like, don't show other people because they'll come in, they'll copy it. I mean, if you want to try and copy this, go right ahead. But I've talked to some very good artists. It's going to take a very special person to do that, because if you start looking at the art, it's all very conducive to itself. It's all packaged. It's not, it's not a baseball and a softball and a football. They're all baseballs, right? They all look, I mean, you can scroll through these. Everything, is coming from the same source. It's coming from the same idea. It's little details. I know people that are fans of this that have mentioned to me, they're like, "Oh, I saw that design, and I couldn't believe the little tattoo on their arm." Like, you get it, or the shoes, or it's these little things that somebody that tries to come in, and we see it on print on demand all the time, that says, "Wow, this guy's selling all kinds of stuff on Etsy or Redbubble. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the same thing." And they miss it. They miss the reason why something's successful. A good example, I think, is, we know Steve Rhodes. Fabulous art. The guy has taken just an amazing thought process of old retro kids books and turned them into something that's worth millions of dollars, right? How many people are trying to copy that? But they're all over the board. You can look at some of these copycats and look at 5 designs and tell that they're shooting off to the right and to the left. Yeah, they're trying to do that retro thing and copy Steve, but they're not clicking the way he is. They're not going to get the Cryptozoid Games coming in and saying, "Hey, let's make a card game out of your art," and not the art you have, but create new art. I just lost Mike. I can't hear you.
Sorry, that's me. Sorry. A lot of that is because he did it first, right? Like that's the biggest problem with copying, is you're always one step behind, someone who did it before. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to copy in the first place. So I've always been big on, obviously original work, but also you have in Monsters and Martians and Stephen Rhodes and everyone, if you're doing original work and to this level of quality and detail, then you have something that's obviously copyrightable at least. And it's going to be a big ask for someone to try and replicate that. And of course, once you're a few years in, well, good luck trying to undercut you on Etsy, or people. You once you establish a brand and you've got 80,000 followers or whatever, you're away, right? So,
well, and the next step is turn that into 250,000 followers and turn it into 1,000,000 followers.
Of course,
right? And the other thing, when you get a brand that's very conducive to a certain niche, is go ahead, be another one in the niche. Have some fun. I mean, looking at the artists for the niche that I'm in here, there's maybe 50 of them, right? And they all know each other. And it's very hard to bust into that, because you have to know what's going on, excuse me, with how things are drawn, how the colors work, how do you go after the fans? Who are the fans, right? Who are the 80,000 people that are on that page? And that's probably the biggest question that I ask. and you can kind of monitor where you take the brand based on that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I want to come back to this that you said earlier as well, because it's about. I think we've had very similar journeys. Merch by Amazon came along and just incredible, growth very quickly, and that became, a steady income. Like it is for you, like it is for me. It became a passive income relatively quickly, and we both. I'm sure we both got a lot of, generic designs that we put up in the early days of merch. But after a couple of years of that, do you want to do another kid's birthday T-shirt? Do you want to do another Happy Father's Day T-shirt? Like, no.
I mean,
I want to do.
But the funny thing about you talking about birthday shirts,
Mm.
how many? Go to Amazon. How many birthday shirts are there? Probably millions now,
endless,
right?
Yeah.
You know what? It's still probably the easiest niche to break into and get sales on.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to spam merch, and maybe this is a tip, I'd go make 1,000 birthday shirts. Probably be guaranteed to get 5 or 6 sales a day off of them, no matter what.
Yeah.
If they were good.
Yeah. But after a while, you do get that kind of like, I've done all these, I've done this, I've done that, and like, what am I going to do today? And especially when you've like, not to like brag or anything, but especially when you have got that cash coming in, and you've seen that cash coming in for a year or two, and you're like, well, this isn't about to disappear anytime soon. I don't need to create 1,000 more birthday shirts in order to sustain this income. So you do start thinking, okay, well, what do I want to do? What interests me? What am I going to chase? And that's very much been my experience over the past few years. Let's you know what? I'm not going to produce the designs that I'm not really that into. I am going to do this, or here's a trend that I'm really interested in. I'm going to hop on that, or here's the brand that I'd really like to create. I'm going to do those kind of designs, and you just find yourself, gravitating towards what you want to do. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have a bit of cash rolling in the first place. So that's what I'd just say that's a great model for people to follow. Eat dirt for a few years, do the stuff that maybe is not necessarily sexy and not necessarily what you want to do, so that in a few years' time, you might have that passive income coming in, and then you can direct your attention towards the thing that you want to build that's going to be the thing for the long term.
Well, and those are the things that some people don't realize that I would share is, as much as I got passive income from print on demand coming in, which you need cash. I mean, I've spent a lot of money building this and doing stuff that is not, I guess you would say, productive, bringing in cash to start. I mean, it's that startup fee of a business. Like, how much do you have to set up shop, set up inventory, and go forward? I mean, I bought $20,000, $30,000 worth of print equipment to, print stickers and posters and, do the wide format printing that brings in even more money. But on the side now, I can do my own posters. I can do my own stickers. All the printing I can fulfill myself, which is something I enjoy. Some people don't enjoy that. And that's another point. Do you enjoy this? Are you building a brand that you enjoy? And the next question you got to ask yourself, just because you enjoy it doesn't mean that other people enjoy it. And I think some people get caught going down this brand road of, okay, yeah, I enjoy this. I like this. Yeah, but is there an audience for it? And that was part of the keys too, is trying to find a brand I want to go after. Was it's got to be something I enjoy, but it's also got to be something that other people enjoy that is actually sellable. And so there again is another one of those round pegs in a round hole. Is it and I came across some brands that I was looking at that I was like, well, beekeeping goes back to the 1400s in my family in Germany. Okay. And I had thought, do I want to go into the beekeeping thing? And I talked to my brothers about it. And is there a market? Yeah, there's a market, but I don't think it was the market I wanted to sell into. This was quite a bit different. Do beekeepers, are they going to hold a Monster Palooza con that I can set up a booth at and sell crazy stuff next to 100 other horror people? Yeah. Or do I really want to sit with the beekeepers and try to sell T-shirts and stickers?
That's a great framework to think of. Do you want to sit with the beekeepers or do you want to sit with the rockabilly guys? Right. Exactly. Yeah. We've got some questions coming in already. So should we take a few of these and then I'll pick up with some of the things I wanted to ask as well. How many we got? About 100 something people on live right now. That's awesome. If you've got a question for Ken, if you've got a question about print on demand, art licensing, feel free to throw it in here. Aaron is here first. He said, I've got a project with hundreds of sugar skull illustrations, 6,000 followers on Instagram, 1,000 on an email list. I see some of Ken's work as transformative fan art. How to build online with this concept?
I think you got two questions there. One is he's got lots of sugar skulls, which, I mean, if you're an amazing artist, can be really cool, but it's very definitive. I mean, you're just sugar skulls, right?
Yeah.
Where are you taking that as far as, you know, what is your audience? What is your brand? What are the
How many sugar skulls can they look at every day and still be interested in it? You know,
you go through a page of 300 sugar skulls. Like, what's the catch? What are you trying to get people to follow you with on that? Now, the other side of the transformative art, that's an interesting one because I actually got asked that. I was in the License This competition a month ago at the Licensing Expo, which was educational. One of the questions that came to me was, he says, now I'm looking through your brand book, because I gave him a brand book, a printed book on art. He says, I see some of this stuff like Flintstones and, you know, and Scooby-Doo. And he says, how much of the content, and it was actually, I think, the Redbubble guy that asked that.
Okay.
He says, how much of the content is this kind of fan art transformative, as this guy asked? Be lucky if there's 25 pieces, 30 pieces out of 700. That's for fun. That's not to go throw up on, you know, hey, look at my Scooby-Doo horror thing, and let's see how long I can get away with it before, you know, Warner Brothers comes in and hits you with it. That's fun stuff. You know, most of it, if you go through the content, is completely original. There is quite a bit of things like Ratfink, but we're not making the rat, right? We're not crossing any boundaries there. So I think people have to be very careful about building a brand on transformative fan art. Fan art is very loosey-goosey about what is legal and what isn't.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I'd say as well, like you say, you can do that. It's not that you can't do this stuff; it's when you sell it that it becomes an issue. Like, you can do that stuff and post it on your social media or on Instagram, on Facebook. You know, I'm not saying it can't get taken down. I'm just saying you're very unlikely to land yourself in any real serious legal danger by, you know, doing some funny stuff and posting it on social media. It's when you sell it, you know, or you end up stocking it in some store or something like that, that you're going to end up in hot water.
And the other side of it is, he makes a good point. He says, how do I build online with this content? Like, I would never build a brand around pure parody.
No.
I mean, unless you're, you know, you've got 3 million people on your Instagram and 2 million on your TikTok, and all of a sudden, when you put up parody, you've got, you know, the actual person that you're making parody of coming back and say, look at this cool t-shirt. Like, Keanu Reeves is wearing the Bill and Ted's parody shirt that somebody, that's a whole different story than let's go fill the shop full of a Redbubble, I'm all parody, and wait until somebody comes and takes me down, right? Totally definitely different. And if you look at my art, there's some stuff. I mean, look at the front page. You can see the cereal, the Xeno Crunch, which is obviously a predator and an alien. I'll sell it. I'm not going to put it on something like merch where they're somewhat way over here on what they accept. But you know, there's limits, and you understand that too. You understand limits.
I think, and the other thing, just to come back on that as well, is like, going back to the sugar skull idea or whatever, like, the one of the big things about your designs are, we are talking about a unique hook, a unique concept every time. You know, you've not got 700 boilerplated, you know, throwing these different graphics together in a different order or something. You've got a unique concept. You know, some are kind of parody, some are, you know, straight up puns, some are plays on this or that. You know, everything, there's a unique one every time, and I think that's an important one that builds a brand and gives it value. You know, like you say, you can give someone an art book of 6,000 sugar skulls or whatever. I mean, does anyone have a need for that many? You know, that many of that? Probably not. But if you've got a lot of unique designs, then that's where you can really inject some value into an art licensing conversation. You know?
I mean, you could make a really cool sugar skull brand, but what's your hook and who is your audience are two questions you got to ask. And how am I going to interject my art into that audience that it's going to be appealing to them, and they're going to want to, wow, I got these 10 and I need these 10. Like, I got to have them all type of thing. I mean, I've had people walk into my Etsy store and buy the whole store. I want one of every sticker, you know, and that's the concept of what you're trying to go after. The other thing that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard it too, somebody will post a design and say, oh, is this legal? Like, this is parody. And somebody will come in and say, if you even think of the IP, it's illegal. If it makes you think of anything about the IP, it's illegal. I could show you some of my parody art that the fan of that art would instantly know what it's referring to, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the IP. And I'm sure, I'm not going to show them here, but you've seen some of my designs that are like that. And you would say, oh yeah, I'm a fan of this, and I'm buying that right now. But there is zero to do with the IP. And some people take it too far and say, if I even think of the IP, I can't create that. And they're wrong. They're just simply wrong.
Yeah. It's like this trending design that I've been talking about. I mean, that's not attached to an IP, but it's a parody design, you know, and if you don't get the reference, then you don't get the concept. You know, it relies on that in order to make the joke. So that's in play all the time. You know, nobody creates from nothing, you know, apart from God. So we're all creating based on something we've seen or a reference or whatever. So yeah, it's just about learning where those
there might actually be a good one in the photos of monsters. I don't know. I think it's been posted. Do you see one called the Monsters?
I know the design you mean.
Yeah,
Am I going too fast?
Actually, go into the photos. Can you click on photos? And if you scroll down, you'll see one called the Zombies. Keep scrolling.
Keep going.
Past the mugs.
So you say you got 700 something of these already? Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is. Right there.
Yeah.
That's an example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We know the reference. We know the font. We get the joke, but there's nothing that attaches it to the original IP. So yeah.
And you'll have people. I mean, the Redbubble guy, I think, mentioned this, like the Beatles, and I wanted to say to the Redbubble guy, you want me to pull up your own website? And this was the senior VP of Redbubble, and you know, the Flintstones and the Scooby-Doo, and he mentioned the Beatles. I said, yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, I know which one of the Beatles. And
you should have said, let's pull up your current active court cases that are going on, you know, your trademark disputes that you're involved in right now.
But this is a good one where people would look at this and say, oh, no, that crosses the IP. That's illegal. No, it's not. There is zero to that design that the Beatles would even care about.
Yeah. The mistake some people would make, though, is they'll do a design like that, and then they'll list the Beatles in their keywords or in the titles and their tags. Like, no, come on, like.
And see, that's the key too, right?
That's important anyway. All right, let's take some more questions here because we've got a lot coming in. Kelly says, "How difficult is it now to get on Merch by Amazon?" I don't really know an answer to that one. I don't know whether we're talking about just getting like an invite or actually kind of establishing an income there. What do you think?
If you're talking about just trying to get an account, that's just a crapshoot. I mean, it's been all over the place since 2015. There were times where you remember when they had a lockdown for like a year and a half, they weren't accepting anybody. And now I don't know if it's a bot or it's a manual review, who knows. If you can get on. People talk about it being saturated. I don't think it's saturated because I'm able to put up any new design and get sales. What I do think that is tough with Merch by Amazon is the tier system. Getting out of those first tiers is just absolute hell. It's like the World War I trenches. Your tier 10, what is it? Tier 10, tier 100?
25 and 50.
Or 20, maybe it's 25. I mean,
we've been
if I did it again, I would buy the first 100 shirts. But then again, you got to wait for tier ups too. So, But it's the lowest fruit on the tree, if you ask me. It's the biggest audience. It's the biggest money.
If it was me when I was trying to get an invite, I mean, knowing what I know now, I just keep applying. Like I just keep, if you got rejected, I just apply again. If you got rejected, I just apply again. Like, but honestly, yeah, I agree. Like once you're in there, like it's like a direct channel to the world's biggest marketplace, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, of course, no, you can't go in there and sell the best-selling Father's Day shirt, overnight. That's not going to happen. But if you're on a particular trend or something someone else doesn't, then yes, you have an unmitigated like pathway to sell that to people. And once you have that, that's just incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and
doesn't matter when you're coming in.
And things have changed with Merch by Amazon. I mean, you remember the early days. I could name names, but I'm not going to. Some of these people that jumped out. I'm doing 10,000 a month. I'm doing 20,000 a month, and you can remember in private chats we were talking. I said they're just riding a surfboard on a wave in front of a huge tidal wave behind them, and as soon as that wave catches up and the good people figure things out, they'll be gone. And I could name a dozen people that are just gone. They made lots of money and they're gone because it was just, put up a Father's Day shirt and hope it sells. Well, things have changed. The organic market on Merch by Amazon has changed. There's going to be some ads you got to throw at stuff. There's different things you got to do to get it moving. But ultimately, you name a print-on-demand platform that is bigger than Merch by Amazon, you're not going to find it.
No.
Redbubble's nowhere near what Merch by Amazon is. I mean, I remember getting a tour of the Dallas plant in 2018, and we're looking at a Costco-sized warehouse full of $500,000 printers. I counted 150 of them at least, and 25 or 40 of them in the corner as backup, ready for that was one plant. Well, now they've got, not only do they have, Japan and one in Poland, doing those other markets. Just in the U.S., you've got Pennsylvania, you got Dallas, you got Salt Lake, you got Las Vegas. There's one 10 minutes from my house now. I order a merch shirt, and it's shipped within 5-6 hours, and it's on my doorstep the next morning.
Yeah. It's a big operation. No other way to put it. Yeah, I remember when we were, it was at the first merch conference, and we were sat talking with some of the merch guys, and he said, it's big. It's a big operation. He said, when we were deciding whether to go forwards or not, he sent that email to not to Jeff Bezos, but to a guy beneath Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And said, look, I need 100 million tomorrow, or we pull the plug and, we can't, those are the options. And the email back was like, you've got 100 million, go and
go and do,
go and do it. Yeah. So they've it's an amazing operation, definitely. And you say, there's nothing.
I mean, do some backwards numbers, and this is kind of pushing this whole Merch by Amazon. I mean, people are like, Merch by Amazon is dead. Yeah, it's got its tough times. It's up and down. They've got their mistakes, their glitches. But take one of their printers back in 2018 would do 50, 55 shirts an hour. Let's just say that machine is only up 22 out of 24 hours. Add up now how much that machine does and only go 6 days out of 7, right? Add up the numbers over the course of a year for what that one machine produces. Now take that and times it by 150. And now take it and start adding out how many plants. And you start to see how big they are compared to a Redbubble.
Yeah.
I've had people like, Redbubble, TeePublic, Threadless. I mean, they're just, look at their numbers, they're crushing. I'm like, it just doesn't. I mean, as you said, he goes to the VP ahead of him and says, I need 100 million tomorrow, or we just close this thing down. Here's your check.
Yeah. In about 15 minutes. Yeah. But having said that, yes, Amazon definitely the biggest market by far. But you only need a fraction of that to have a very, very healthy income from your art,
Yeah.
You don't need necessarily, I think maybe some people have this blockage in their head, like, if I don't get on Amazon, I can't do it. Well, no, you can do it with Etsy, you can do it with TeePublic, you can do it with Redbubble, you can do a combination of these things. I would never say to anyone like Merch by Amazon is some golden goose that it's not. It's definitely not, and you've proven that as well. So,
and Merch by Amazon is tough to build a brand on.
Oh yeah. It's not. It's not a brand building platform, is it? It's
nice to throw your designs up and get side money off it, right? And I said, I've thrown up a bit of my content, not even all of it. And some people are like, yeah, slam it all up there. Well, no, I've thrown some up, and like I said, if I look at the numbers, it's coming very close to being the top brand selling per week, compared to all my, and I still do very well on merch, just leaving all that other stuff. And this is slowly and very quickly, climbing to be what that is.
Yeah. Okay, question here from Lance. Ken, you mentioned that you were previously licensing from the artist and have modified the arrangement. Without going into specific numbers, what does the new arrangement look like?
I own it.
You own it. So you're paying him
No, I own it.
Design?
Yeah.
Okay.
I own it, and we'll hire him completely full-time very soon.
Okay. Cool. That's
now there's a key to that, though. I'm not just telling him make me art. What you see on my page is my concepts, my drafts, my kind of sketch to what I want. And it's a fluidity between me and an artist that he knows exactly what I'm looking for. Almost never do we have to go into draft 2. Which is, you being an artist, Mike, like you can draw it. I can vector it. I'm very good at vector. Just being in the sign industry. Just because of that doesn't mean that I can go into the intricacies of drawing a rat thing face. But I know exactly how I want that face to look. And that's quite a bit different than somebody saying, here's to my artist, here's my Excel spreadsheet of what I want you to make. It's totally different versus layering it out exactly what I want it to look like. So what you're seeing on my page is what's in my crazy head, right? With an artist that knows how to translate that exactly because he's in the industry.
It's the same with me in the relationship I have with a few of my designers. And you're an art director. You're not a designer anymore. You're an art director. You're giving instructions to a designer. And absolutely. When you find that click with that designer, I've been working with the same designer since 2013. We both had kids since then. We send each other gifts and stuff. Never met him. He's in Indonesia. But I wouldn't give him up for any amount of money. Or, people ask me all the time, can I use your design? I'm like, no way.
I mean, guy's mine, and I'm sure people are going to try and search it out and find my designer. Yeah, you know what? You can get a design from him. You're going to pay through the nose for a design.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
you're not going to want to build 700 designs in a brand using this guy, because it is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's great point.
But back quickly to his point. What's the arrangement? I own the arrangement. There is no royalty. There is, there's no licensing deal going on there. This is my package now.
Yeah. So. Larry King in the house. Ken, what is the significance of new branding of Merch by Amazon to Amazon Merch on Demand? Big changes to the platform? I'm aware. You're under an NDA, but can you throw a guy a bone?
It just makes it more conducive to what Amazon is. I'm sure you would agree, Mike.
Yeah.
Merch by Amazon versus Amazon Print on Demand. I mean, I think they're trying to say this is print on demand. They're pushing that quite a bit more the last year versus
they're trying to make it obvious
just merch, right?
For customers. Yeah, they're trying to make it obvious for customers. This is going to be printed on demand and that kind of stuff on the page. So
you remember how Merch by Amazon was started. It was, It was for app developers.
It was a mistake.
It was like, we're going to make merch for like stuffed animals, and that was the early keychains, and you come to us with your app and we'll make your merchandise for you to sell on your app. And you remember, it used to have sponsored ads right on the front page. And the only way you could do that is if you had an app on the Amazon merch or the Amazon App Store.
It
totally changed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any big impact from these changes. I think it's just it's rearranging the colors or the logo or whatever. It doesn't actually have any. I haven't looked
at it, but I did ask a question to Merch about it. Somebody was posting that they saw a change in the TOS about your design must have the design name and the, your name. And I got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that they're going to change it to every designer or creator gets to pick. I don't like the one brand idea, but every designer gets the one design by name. So in your bullets, it's going to be Crazy Clowns 666.
Yeah.
But all of your shirts are going to have that tag, and they're all going to be linked.
Yeah.
And I
they're
think
going to be
that needs to happen on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hoping and asking for that for a long time, haven't we? So hopefully it comes up. Pat, do you recommend selling T-shirts Printful, print on demand, Amazon, Seller Central route? Since merch by Amazon can take a while to get approved. Have you ever done that? The Printful thing with Amazon directly?
I did a little bit with T-Launch. And it worked all right, but it wasn't the management that I wanted to do. I do have a new private printer that I'm using with a lot of different merch that I'm not going to say who it is because I can't. Amazon may be another route. We're going to test out mugs, but Amazon's just weird trying to get through their Seller Central. I'm not an expert on FBA and things like that.
No. Yeah.
It's a great market if you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I toyed around with it, but yeah, like you say, it's just so many hoops to jump through, so complicated, especially compared to merch by Amazon that.
Well, and unless you're printing your own, like take T-shirts, unless you're printing your own and listing them, I mean, the profit margin just goes out the door so quickly. You got to start listing shirts at like $30 to make any kind of real profit if you're going through all these steps of using a Printful and all these other places. It just margin gets chewed up pretty quick.
Yeah. No, you're right. Okay, let's take a couple more here. Detour, do you know what's the best way to research to find out what to design? How would you tackle that one?
My days of going on to something like a BSR search or a top 10 list, or I mean, in the early days, everybody was clamoring for what's the top 100 selling shirts on. I don't even care. Honestly, I create what I like. I've got a pretty good understanding of what sells. I mean, I can create a shirt this afternoon on some quirky idea, put it up on merch. I'm pretty sure maybe I need to throw a few ads at it. I'm pretty sure I can have it selling within a week or two. I mean, I get tired of this research word. And I've seen your stuff where you're taking things like, let's take a crazy pun. Let's take a design that can match it, that can go, like, it's identifying an audience and knowing who you're selling to. Research to me, in the way most of the print on demand thinks, is just theft. Just go find the top 10 selling things in a niche and go copy it and put something else that you think is better. Yeah, it could be completely different. Yeah, you could take over the niche, but nothing drives me crazier than seeing these videos of, let's look at the top 50 selling shirts in X niche. And all you did was take your audience, and I've used this as a Pied Piper, and got all your rats to take this morsel of cheese. And by the end, they all walk away with maybe a nibble, maybe a shirt sale, not realizing that 1,000 people went into that following a research letter or a research video, research, and all you did was flood out a niche. And I feel bad for the guys that legitimately were doing well in that niche, because all you did was direct people to go destroy it. And the people giving the research, 9 out of 10 times, didn't even put up shirts in that niche to be. They were just doing it to get subscribers and an audience, finding what sells and throwing everybody at it. And then people walk away. I see this all the time. This is getting off the brand topic, but then they walk away and say, well, that didn't really work. I only sold one shirt, or I didn't sell any shirts. What's the next research niche? And they're in this cycle of wondering why things don't sell, why they can't be successful on merch by Amazon. I see it over and over and over again. Instead of just backing off and saying, let's learn design, let's learn how to get something to stand out on the Amazon page or the Etsy page, and be original. Find audiences, go into Google, go into trends, and find the words that are being searched. But don't go onto the page and follow a research newsletter or top 10 list or top 100 list, because
Yeah.
you're back to this tidal wave thing where you're trying to ride a wave and you might have some success, but other people are going to overtake you. And the other thing you fall into a pitfall with is I've seen people post just crazy numbers in groups. Like, look at me, beat my chest. Oh, well, it's maybe a dozen designs that does that. I have 100,000 listings, but it's a dozen designs that actually make me money. I don't want to be sitting on a dozen designs.
No, definitely not. No.
That's not my idea of passive income. So
no, you want a bigger moat than that, definitely.
So maybe that's a long explanation. Maybe that's a bit of air in the wind on it, but I think it's throwing some caution to the wind with people that think they can come in and just follow someone for research and instantly be successful.
Yeah.
They're going to be disappointed.
I don't. Yeah, I've never really. I mean, I understand the what is it? It's kind of an attraction, isn't it? To, oh, this is what's hot. This is what's hot this week. This is what's hot this week. Like, I get why, I get why people are attracted to that, but that's almost the guaranteed way to ensure that you're playing in the most competitive area there is. Like, first of all, it has to be popular enough that someone can easily identify it as a trend that's busy, because they just have to look at the BSRs. Well, that's public knowledge in the first place. And then number two, if you're looking at this on a video or, like you say, an email or a newsletter or something that someone sent out and said, this is what's hot right now. Well, how many thousands of people has that gone to? So, you're not just one step behind the person who originally, is on that, but you're now, unless you're the first person to watch the video and you got busy on it right away, guess what? You've now got 2,000, 3,000 competitors out there who are all doing the same thing. So yeah, I would say don't watch, or if you're going to watch those videos, watch them for entertainment. Don't watch them for any kind of strategy. And it's zigging when others are zagging, isn't it? Like, look at that and do the exact opposite of it. Or,
well, you can go back 2 years of videos of some people, and you're like, if everything they pitch every week is just the best sellers, and they're just selling like crazy for me, I'm looking at these people like they must be doing $1 million a week because everything they put up sells, right? I'm like, but yet you see them post in some groups, well, sales are really down this week. Well, wait a minute. You've got 45 videos here that show me all the top 1,000 things that are selling for you. You must be doing really good, and that's, I guess, where people get caught is they get caught up in this thing that, especially non-designers, how many people do we see on the print-on-demand industry that have no concept of what to design? And I've seen this on coaching calls where I go in and they're like, I don't know, nothing is selling. I got great designs. And I take 3 seconds to look at their stuff and, oh boy, there's a reason you're not selling. It's just not attractive. And you've got to learn how to design first before you start research. And that's why I said it comes like this is kind of a weird head. What's going on in my brain is really kind of strange with this stuff. And I think it even drives my wife crazy because I'm a totally different person when I'm doing this versus who I am.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. You've got to have something else going on. There's no, if all you're looking at is what's selling, or you're trying to, figure out what the next big thing is, the biggest sellers for me have been genuine, like original designs that I thought were funny. There existed no identifiable design that was related to it. It wasn't piggybacking off something like this trend one that we've been teaching about the past few weeks. It was a trend, but I was like one of the first ones to it. There was, if you were trying to research, you would go on Amazon and Redbubble and go, there's no designs here. There's no designs here. But I uploaded my design and it sold every day.
And you're selling great.
Like a week.
Yeah.
What was that?
And you're selling great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you do that enough times, you will build up a strong moat, and people can't catch you because you were the first to do it. Yes, they can copy you, but it's very hard for someone to, if I post my design a week ahead of everyone else, are you going to catch me? Good luck.
Yeah. And you have that when you've had a viral design, I've had some, if you're first out the door with the concept, and all the copycats are behind you, you've already sold $10,000-$15,000 worth of shirts before they even caught on what's going on.
No, I agree. I think we have a similar approach to to research it, if you might call it, or in my case, or your case, just having crazy ideas, jotting them down and turning them into designs.
And that doesn't need to be necessarily monsters. It's just having crazy ideas with anything. I mean, it's, I see a current event. It's like, here's a wacky way to do it, you know, and get it up and just start selling and not being like everybody else.
Yeah. Let's see if we can squeeze a few more in before we wrap this up. AJ, great job with the brand, Ken. And your artist is awesome. And you're on point about the concept direction. Oh, that's not really a question. Lots of people think making a spreadsheet is all it takes. Yeah, well, we just kind of spoke about that, right? It's I'm much more on the creative side, probably to my detriment. Like I don't even fool around with like ads or anything like that, but I just kind of prefer the organic route.
Yeah, and as far as monsters go, I have not pushed ads on it. And I've seen some comments of people like, Dad, I can't believe you haven't like slammed the ads out there and done this and done that. It's just not right where I'm at yet. It's about building a foundation, which is pretty strong. And from the License Expo, I didn't win, but it was damn close.
Yeah.
I think I should have won. I don't know what was going through some judges. I had some judges say that I should have won. But what came from that was I've been going to licensing expos for a while now. And, a few years ago, it was like, go to the expo and see what art you could license and get up, And now when I'm walking around, it is, who are the brand agents that I'm talking to? I'm working on getting signed with an agent that is going to take and help me develop, help educate, because it's a massive world, licensing. And so what's come from that show is a number of meetings with agents that are, picking apart this brand and looking at it and putting proposals and, and how. And the other thing with licensing, especially if you're building a brand, this is not an overnight thing. This is not, you might hit a home run. Yay, Vans came and wants my skulls on their shoes and they're going to sell 100,000 shoes. Home run, right? Yeah. Most of it is a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year type of a plan of where you want to take this brand and how you want to build it out and all these pieces. And that's where it costs money and costs, capital to be able to do. Can you sit there and build it out while you're trying to feed your family? Yeah,
it's a long-term play, isn't it? Yeah. And just coming back to the licensing thing, I was there with you a couple of years ago. Was it 2019? I think it was 2019 was the last time we were there. It's one of the things I wanted to mention was just this idea, like you've got Monsters and Martians, you basically got this catalog of designs that you can obviously license and sell yourself and stuff. And I think just one concept kind of hit me when I was there that time and kind of keeps repeating to me is so few artists seem to think in those terms, like in terms of I'm building a brand and treating it like a business that I could, obviously I can license it, but also you could sell it. Like, I don't know whether you've had this kind of idea of, one of the things I would recommend people to consider is maybe you should sit down and instead of just creating designs and trying to sell them online directly, like put together a package and a collection of designs, say 100, 200 designs around a brand, around a theme. Obviously, you need to kind of think about the market and who you're going to sell this to, but then think in terms of I'm going to sell this package of designs, outright to this company or to this licensing agent or something like that. And I think that's a strategy that I've not seen many people employ, but I think that's a huge way to get kind of an immediate payoff for something. It doesn't have, obviously creating 200 designs is not something you can do overnight, but that kind of thought process of thinking, I'm creating these designs for a business, for a brand, for them to sell to their audience. I think that's really valuable. I think, if someone came to me, for example, and said, hey, I've got 200 designs around this particular market or trend, if it was something related to my audience that I knew I could sell, then I'd be like, okay, let's talk, let's negotiate something. So I don't know. You have any thoughts on that?
I've had bands approach me. I've had actually some artists approach me and wanting to buy specific designs or buy, can I buy that out? And right now I'm not at the point where I want to sell off those designs because I'm building a portfolio. and we talked earlier, I've shared the portfolio book with you. We're not going to share it here.
No.
But it's a portfolio book that is a soft cover and a hard cover that I can physically hand to somebody that's 150 pages wide, and it's all conducive to a brand. And that's big. I mean, that puts yourself in the opportunity of somebody came in and saying, hey, I want to buy that out, or I want to partner with you because this is the idea. The other side of that is, as I started developing the brand, I want the whole SWOT analysis, right? If you're in business, SWOTs, what are the weaknesses? What are the threats? What are the strengths? And one of the outside looked at this was, if I put this investment into it and do this, what's the out? Like if I wanted to just walk away and get out, well, the out is very easy on this. I could break out 700 or 800 designs, break them into 10 or 25 pieces of art. I could put a price tag on that art for $199, go list it on every one of these digital download places, sell every bit of this art because people would snap it up right now and walk away with $500,000. It would be very easy to go and sell this as digital bundles, right? Because it's very unique art. It's very conducive art. It's not something that's readily available. That's the out on this. And sometimes I think as you're building this, you do want an out. You don't want it to just fizzle to the point where, I got tired of this, or it didn't work, and now I'm sitting on this investment. I always look for a way to get my investment back. And increase it.
I think that's a huge thing. And like you said, like compare your collection of designs here with, I've got 5,000 designs, and then you look and what have you got? Happy Father's Day with the fishing rod, Happy Father's Day with the basketball,
Like what's the value of that?
Exactly. You're going to be able to sell that on a site. Well, no, what's the value?
Yeah, go to the SVG sites.
Yeah,
you can buy 10,000 of those for $25, right? Yeah, they're all probably lifted and stolen and copied, but they're everywhere.
They're generic to the point of being almost commodified, aren't they? Like a commodity, like they're interchangeable. And your designs are not interchangeable. They are unique. They stand alone. You've got a brand behind them. There's value there. And I think if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not really following or whatever, like, where's your value? Where are you putting the value in? That's the big question. Like, if you can't identify where in the process you're adding some value that should come back to you in profit or in sales or something, then you've got a problem. Like, if you get your ideas for designs from research videos that everyone else is watching, and then you use vector packs that everyone else has access to, and then you put together a design that looks like everyone else's and list it on all the same platforms everyone else does with the same keywords and the same titles and stuff. Where do you expect to get anything different?
I've seen the question, what's the best place, what's the best subscription to get your clip art from? I'm like, why do you want to use clip art everybody else is? Like, I get it. Not everybody can put the investment in, and you can make some really cool designs with a lot of clip art, but there's only so many times you can see the same unicorn. Now, there is one other. I don't know how much. I got all the time in the world.
You sure?
I don't know what you're. I want to share one other thing in talking about brand, and that I think is very important. And I shared this at License This. I thought of it as an upside down triangle. You've seen the food pyramid where the bottom builds up to the top. Flip that upside down, and when you're building your brand, you want a foundation at the tip at the bottom, right? Which is very specific. But as you build out your brand, and if you look at my brand, it will branch out into an upside down pyramid that can cover a huge audience, right?
Yeah.
And if you identify what's going on in my brand, the bottom is psychobilly, right? It's that rockabilly, crazy, horror, death, punk. But anybody in rockabilly likes psychobilly. For the content, right? They may not listen to the same gothabilly, punkabilly. Like, you get these billies, right? And then you start looking at it, the horror fan, right? The classic movie fan. It just
broadens and broadens as it goes up. And
I've had guys in bike gangs, not gangs, but bike clubs, ask for certain designs, like, can we buy that outright from you? We want to make our patch out of it. Right. So now you're talking kind of a biker club. You're getting into, that the weirdos, the gassers, the
Freaks and
hot
geeks. Yeah,
rods,
yeah.
the rat. I mean, and so you've built your brand from something very specific, but almost anybody in the pyramid would buy the specific design down at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to put together.
Yeah.
That's
But that's the story of every brand, right? That's that's Supreme, that's Johnny Cupcakes, that's any brand you can think of. They started super, super niche, usually a couple of friends together in a garage or whatever, just knocking ideas around. And then it grows and grows. I always remember the first licensing expo I went to in London, like this was maybe 2016 or something. They had the granddaughter of the author of the Moomins books. Do you know the Moomins? Those little white, whatever they are, Scandinavian deal. And she did a little talk about the Moomins and how it started and how they were stories that she wrote for her kids or something like that. And then they were popular for a while in the 70s or something, where they kind of took off. And then they just had this massive lull for like 20 years when they were out of fashion and stuff. But then they start coming back in, and now they're a massive licensing brand. But anyway, the point was that like when this kind of trend came back for like Scandinavian stuff and like mental well-being and all this kind of deal, and just kind of like nice heartwarming stuff, that was all baked into Moomins from the very beginning. Like they had it already, that there were stories that she wrote for her kids, and the art was all appropriate and it was all right there. They didn't have to manufacture it. They weren't looking at a trend coming down the track and going, oh, we better do something for this. They were
the
like,
art department going and
exactly.
change
The art
everything.
department busy. We need something like this. What would be cool and heartwarming and cuddly? They already had it. So that always stuck with me. I was like, yeah, that's if you create something from a genuine place in the first place, you don't have to. You don't have to manufacture. You don't have to chase trends and stuff because you've got something of value. Like, yes, it may take 10 years, 20 years for that thing to really take off. And maybe it never is $1 billion enterprise, but you can still build something very valuable and meaningful and profitable. It doesn't have to be turning over millions for it to support you and be a great business. And yeah, that always stuck with me. So
yeah, it comes down to being identifiable, right?
Yeah.
Are you identifiable? Like I can look at your stuff, Mike, and I can identify it as Michael Essek, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. And my point is it's lowbrow. I mean, if you look at this art, if you zoom in really close, it's pretty rough art, but it looks amazing, right? And that's lowbrow. That's custom culture. That's the Gasser thing. You go to somebody like let's go back to Steve Rhodes, right? His stuff is very identifiable because he no matter what he draws, it becomes very identifiable with him, right? He's got a style. I think that's very important with the brand as well. You don't want to be here and there and like looking like you're like Johnny Cupcakes. Does any of his content there look like it's not Johnny Cupcakes, regardless of what it is? It's all identifiable to him, to his group of artists, to his brand. It's conducive, it's identifiable. And it's what you were saying. You don't have to recreate the art wheel 20 years later if it becomes popular because it was already identifiable. Smiley brand is a good example. People are mad that Smiley is taking people down, but yet they did create the original Smiley. If you look at the top 50 iconic t-shirts of all time, the big yellow smiley face is there. I hate to break it to you people, but they do have a point that they can go after it, right? Now, I may not agree with some of the ways they are going after it, but as far as that content, they're very identifiable. And now they're sharing with people at their 50th anniversary. It's coming back and they're sharing, this is who we are.
Yeah.
We've been around for 50 years.
It's like, they can make that claim legitimately as well. So you want something like that for yourself, don't you? For the people who are listening, you want something that you can say, yes, that's mine. I came up with it. That was my thing. That you can keep on working on and not have to make it work within the next week or two. You can work on something that for the long term, not just, oh, this isn't working this week, so I'm off to something else. You want to find that something, and that takes time, like you say, but yeah, that's great advice. Look, we've gone over by about 10 minutes, so I think we should let you go. Get back to bed if you want to. What time is it over
me. When was a time schedule ever hard and
there?
straightforward with me?
Yeah.
It's always fun, and it's always fun chatting with you.
No, it's great. Yeah, we should do it more often. Just shoot the breeze a bit.
We'll get you to Vegas when we have that little private conference. You're coming over.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. It was just before COVID, wasn't it? Or just
Yep.
as COVID hit, that got it all cancelled. Yeah. No, I had a
Yep.
few things lined up, and I was like, oh yeah, can't wait. It was going to be Salt Lake City, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's 45, 50 people. I mean, there's been a handful of, refunds on tickets, but most everybody that's there has been,
Still wants to
as
come.
soon as it's there.
Yeah.
And we've switched it from Salt Lake over to Vegas because,
Yeah.
who wants to go to, Vegas at night after we're done meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could drag me out. Yeah.
We'll pull it off. It's
Yeah.
still there. We're still just working with Amazon once they let us take that tour. So.
Yeah. No, I'll be there definitely. Well, thank you so much, Ken, for your time. Always a pleasure. I really appreciate it. I know everyone else is really thankful too. We got lots of thank yous coming in here. I know a lot of people appreciate everything you do for the community as well, print on demand community and merch by Amazon and everything.
And go over to my other love. My other love, Trademark Watchdogs.
Trademark Watchdog. Yeah. What else do you need to plug? Trademark Watchdog.
That's the biggest plug, really. Get over to the Trademark Watchdogs group if you're not there on Facebook. We're trying to fight all of these frivolous trademarks.
Mm-hmm.
We've been going since 2018. One night I got pissed off at Mama Bear. And you remember, I'm like, I'm putting up a site. I'm so ticked off at this. And it's evolved. It's a battle. And it's getting ugly out there with all of these phrases. And now the new thing is go and try and trademark a partial phrase or a paragraph, right? Because there's no evidence out there. And all of your support, we need it. There's thousands of hours that go in. I can't thank my other admins enough. I don't want to name them because I'm going to forget the 5 or 6, but they're just as important as I am. And, go join the site, go help out.
Yeah. So just search Trademark Watchdogs on Facebook. You find the group there, and doing a good job trying to keep the market fair and wide open for everyone. Really, that's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just keep a level playing field and stuff like that. So
that's the only real plug. I don't do courses. The odd coaching I'll do, but I've kind of gotten away from any of that. I admin a number of the different merch groups, and if you've been around since the beginning and probably know who I am, you either love me or hate me.
I think more love you than hate you now. Maybe not in the early days, but now. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ken. Guys, if you want to like and subscribe, that would be awesome. michaelessek.com/live. If you want to join my newsletter and get updates for when we're doing another live call with Ken or anything else of interest, tips and advice to help you with your business.
I've always said follow you.
Oh, you have always said that, yeah.
I've always said follow Michael Essek. If there's somebody in print on demand to follow, share the word. This guy knows his stuff. And if I were to take a course or learn from someone, I'd come to Mike.
Well, don't know what to say. I'm blushing. Thank you, Ken. Right. Thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got as much out of it as we did. We'll definitely do something like this again soon. Fisnik says Ken has a better background view. Yeah, definitely. He has better weather than me as well for most of the time. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you again to Ken, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.